So kind of going into that is light programs and cycling. We get a lot of questions about light programs and what that means, how they work. You know, there's lots of articles you can read online about it. Most of them are generally correct. It's not a foreign subject. It's pretty simple. If you want your mare to cycle early, which means you want a breeder in February or March, then that mare needs to be under lights about November 15th. You'll see dates like November 1st, you'll see December 1st, you'll see Thanksgiving. Any of those are probably fine. We do about November 15th here at Solo. We'll start putting everything under lights. And next question is, what does that mean? What does under lights mean? Okay, this is very important. If you're going to put mares under lights, you've got to commit to it. Because if you say, hey, I'm going to put my mare under lights, you call me and say, hey, I want to breed in February, I'm going to put my mare under lights. And then in December, you go, out of town for 4 days, and the neighbor kid is supposed to be bringing your mares in and putting them under lights, and they just don't do it for 2 days or 3 days. That's not good. Your mares typically just shut down and stop cycling. So if you're going to use light programs, you have to be consistent. Like, that is the number one rule, or just don't do it. Because if you're not consistent, those mares get confused and their cycles get all messed up, and they're probably not going to start cycling until June. And then you're really going to be mad. So if you're not going to do it, don't do it. If I could say that 20 times in this podcast, I would, because I get frustrated people every year that are like, well, I put my mares under lights, and I start asking them questions, and then come to find out they did it wrong. And so with lights, our program here is we will turn the lights on, this time of year about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I think our timers come on at 5 o'clock here, and they'll shut off at 11:30. And so at that time, those mares either get kicked out. We have somebody that comes here that those mares will come up to a catch pen. They'll, the lights will be on them. And then, about 11:30, the girls come and kick them out, but those lights automatically shut off. And that's the key. There's a timer, and the timer is very specific as to when it comes on and off. And it is the same for the year. So that can be in a catch pen, like what we do with our mares out, or a recips. That can be in a stall. That can be in a very small turnout that you have them in. I would caution you, in a very small turnout, it needs to be lit up like a football field. Like, if you don't feel like you are in an NFL football field, it's not bright enough. So that's why you'll see most people put them into like a smaller catch pen that has lights if they just have 1 or 2 mares, and then let them out, afterwards. Or, if a mare's turned out at night, they put them up in stalls, but they've got to get up in that stall every day by the time the lights are on, before it's dark out. And then, they can stay in there all night if you want to, as long as your timer shuts the lights off at 11 or 11:30. And so if it's not super bright, it's not working. If it's just one little dim light bulb, that's not going to work. Those stalls have to be really bright, or turnouts or traps or whatever it is. If you look at our recip farm, we're probably like 5 miles as the crow flies from the recip farm, and it looks like a town. Like, I can see it from here. It literally looks like a town over there, and I'm pretty sure all of our neighbors hate us. Unfortunately, that's just what it takes whenever you're trying to light several hundred mares, or I think there's 500 or 600 actually under lights right now. So if your neighbors aren't mad at you if you have mares outside in pens, then your lights probably are not bright enough. So if you, let's just say you say, hey, I'm going to put my mare under lights in the stall. I've got her in a stall anyways. And then you take her, this is what we see happen a lot. Then we take her to the world's greatest horseman, and they go to Fort Worth for 3 weeks, and the lights are on there 24 hours a day. Okay. That is equally as bad. And it's something we have to deal with every year on the cow horse mares, because they've been under lights in February at the cow horse shows with the lights on 24 hours a day, and their bodies don't know whether they are living in China or Cancun, or if it's, the North Pole, or they are in Texas. Their cycles are very confused. And so some mares come right back around, but a lot of times those mares from the cow horse show are just, they're a little tough to get cycling back. And so, that's one thing you have to keep in mind too. If these are like rodeo mares or show mares that are going to these places that keep lights on 24 hours a day, that can be a little bit of an issue as well. And You know, sometimes that's just something that we all have to deal with whenever you're still actively showing a horse. And that's something we can help with. That's easy as just saying, hey, you know, my mare was at the cow horse show all, you know, for the world's greatest. I'm going to bring her by and we can check her and see if she's cycling. Maybe at that point she's not cycling to breed, but she's a perfect ICSI candidate. So we can help you with all of that. That's something we manage every year. It's just kind of an unfortunate part of horse showing that happens. The last thing I want to touch on with light programs is I'll hear some people say, hey, I put my mare under lights this year, kind of like the world's greatest. I just left them on all the time. I just figured that was easier. You know, just turned my light switch on and they were on whether it was light or dark outside. That is a little bit like those mares going to the cow horse show. They have no idea what hemisphere in the world that they're in at that point. So 24 hours a day lights are just as bad as no lights or inconsistent lights. So just the rule of thumb with the light deal is consistency, consistency, consistency. If you're going to do it, put your mares under lights, put them on a timer. Do not go out and flip your lights off at 11 o'clock at night, because you're not going to do it at the same time every day, I can tell you. And if you're gone, your neighbor's definitely not going to do it at the same time every day. And so just pay for the timers. You can get a cheap set of timers if you've just got them in a stall from like an Atwoods or, you know, any Tractor Supply. Those are fine if you've got mares in a stall. Our electricians come out and install these light panels or these timer panels, and they're perfect. They work outstanding. It's an investment that we make and we tell people to make if you're going to do this long term, especially if you've got one of those outside pens. Getting your electrician to come and put in one of those timer panels is great, and they're very easy to set, and then they're just kind of walk away and you know it's working. The last thing you can do with that is you can send those mares here. A lot of people will send us those mares in November to put them under lights because they just don't want to mess with it. They're going to be gone for the holidays. They don't have time or the desire to mess with making sure that those mares are under lights, but they definitely want to make sure they get their early babies. And so we're happy to do that, whether it's show mares that are being turned out, whatever it is. We've got the capabilities here to keep those show mares exercised, whether it's on the walker or turned out or ridden. We've got private pastures for those mares that need some extra care. And then we've got our general turnouts that are going to have, you know, 10 to 15 mares a piece in them, that those mares come up under lights every night. And so we can accommodate any mare that needs any kind of care here, and we're happy to assist with that.